Sometimes life doesn't break you with loud explosions. Sometimes it just chips away at you quietly. One disappointment here, one rejection there, one more promise broken by someone you trusted. Before you realize it, you're sitting alone in your room, scrolling through memories of who you used to be, wondering when you became this tired version of yourself. The version that keeps silent to avoid conflict. The version that wakes up with an ache in their chest. The version that once burned with dreams, but now just wants to make it through the day without breaking down. Maybe today you're sitting with that feeling, that you've lost your edge, that everyone is moving forward and you're just surviving. That no matter how hard you try, nothing ever changes, but here's what you need to remember: your story isn't finished. This chapter might be dark, but darkness is not the end. It is simply the place where roots grow, where your spirit decides it will no longer bow to fear, where your mind learns to fight back harder, think sharper, and rise with a quiet force no one sees coming. If you're listening to this right now, know this: life isn't asking you to pretend to be okay. It's asking you to stand up, even if your legs are shaking. Because there is power in standing up while you're still bleeding. There is power in refusing to become bitter. There is power in your scars if only you choose to see it. Watch till the end, subscribe, and like this video, because today you will remember exactly who you are meant to be. There was a time you woke up in the morning and felt an excitement you couldn't explain. You didn't need a reason to feel alive. You didn't need validation to feel worthy. You didn't carry around this constant ache in your chest, wondering if you're good enough. But somewhere along the way, that version of you disappeared. It didn't happen all at once. Life doesn't steal your soul with a single blow. It does it quietly, a disappointment here, a betrayal there. One more time someone made you feel small. One more dream that fell apart before you even had the chance to fight for it. You didn't realize it back then, but with every silent surrender, every moment you swallowed your truth to keep the peace, every time you said yes when you wanted to scream no, you buried yourself, piece by piece. And now, when you look in the mirror, you can't remember the last time you saw yourself. Not the person who gets up, does what needs to be done, puts on a polite smile, and holds it together for everyone else. No, I'm talking about the real you, the one who spoke without trembling, the one who looked at the world with curiosity and fire, the one who believed they could create something beautiful out of their pain. You lost yourself the moment you stopped believing that your desires mattered. You lost yourself the moment you stopped fighting for your own dreams and started living just to survive. You lost yourself the moment you told yourself that silence was safer than truth, that smallness was safer than risk, that loneliness was safer than loving again. But here's the thing: losing yourself is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of a journey back. A journey that demands you to strip away every expectation forced upon you, to tear down every lie you've told yourself about who you're allowed to be, to stand in front of that mirror, look deep into your own eyes and whisper, "I am still here," because you are. Beneath the exhaustion, beneath the numbness, beneath the polite mask you wear just to make it through the day, that real you is still alive, still waiting to be remembered. And once you choose to find them again, once you decide that your life is no longer up for silent compromise, you will realize something powerful. You never truly lost yourself. You just stopped looking in the places your soul was hiding, waiting for you to come home. You tell yourself you're okay. You tell yourself you've moved on, that what happened doesn't affect you anymore. But deep down, in the quiet hours of the night, when no one is around to distract you, you feel it. The heaviness in your chest, the way your mind drifts back to moments you never truly healed from, the way you tense up when someone gets too close to the truth of who you really are. You think that staying broken keeps you safe, that if you build your walls high enough, nothing can ever hurt you again, that if you keep your dreams small and your expectations lower, you'll never feel disappointment again. But what you don't see is the hidden cost you pay every single day for choosing to remain untouched by life. Because staying broken robs you of connection, it poisons the way you see people, it makes you suspicious of kindness, intolerant of imperfection, terrified of vulnerability. Staying broken keeps your dreams locked behind glass. It lets you watch life from a distance but never step fully into it. You think you're protecting yourself, but all you're really doing is abandoning yourself, over and over, just to avoid the pain of facing what broke you. Every time you refuse to heal, you reinforce the lie that you are unworthy of wholeness. Every time you ignore your pain, you teach your mind that suffering is normal, that happiness is dangerous, that peace is only for other people. And slowly, without realizing it, you become a shell, functioning, existing, but never truly living. This is the cost of staying broken. Not just your dreams, but your entire life, your joy, your depth. Your ability to love without fear and create without limits. Staying broken feels easier, but in the end, it is the most painful choice you will ever make. Because healing hurts, growth hurts, facing yourself hurts. But nothing will ever hurt as much as looking back one day and realizing you spent your entire life building walls so strong that not even you could find a way out. There comes a moment in your life when you feel like you're drowning in quietness. You move through your days doing exactly what's expected of you. You keep your words soft, your actions small, your dreams hidden where no one can challenge them. You tell yourself it's safer this way. Less painful, less risky. But somewhere in the deep of your chest, there's a voice whispering that this isn't living. It's existing. You've spent so long letting fear decide the shape of your days that you've forgotten what it feels like to move with courage. You think that in order to change, you have to become a different person overnight. You think it takes some massive act of defiance to finally feel free. But what if I told you that everything could begin with one small rebellion, one single act that defies your fear, one single choice that makes your heart pound because you know you've never done it before? It doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be loud. Maybe it's speaking your mind in a room where you'd usually stay silent. Maybe it's telling someone you love them even when rejection terrifies you. Maybe it's deciding that today, for the first time, you will choose what you truly want without guilt. That one rebellion is enough to rewire your mind, because your fear wants to convince you that you can't, that you're too broken, too fragile, too dependent on the safety of being small. But when you take that single act of courage, when you feel your body shaking and your heart pounding, and you do it anyway, you realize something undeniable. You are still alive inside. That quiet fire within you never left. It was just buried under layers of self, protection, and silent pain. Your small rebellion becomes proof that you are capable of choosing your life. It becomes a declaration that fear no longer gets the final say in who you become. This is the truth. Your life will not change overnight, but your spirit will awaken in the exact moment you stand up to fear and say, "Not today." One small rebellion is all it takes to remind yourself of the person you were always meant to be, and from that single courageous choice, 1,000 more will be born. There comes a day when you look around at your life and realize you have nowhere to rest, nowhere that feels safe, even inside yourself. Battles in yearnth that your inner WORLD has become a ild be of the ATTLEFIELD, scattered with old wounds, silent grief, and INVISIBLE, mamie, as you try not to I of TOUCH character. You keep yourself busy, you keep yourself numb, but at the end of every day you come back to a mind that feels like ruins. No one ever taught you how to build a home within yourself. They told you to achieve, to push, to endure, but no one told you how to create a place inside where you could just be. A place that holds your fears without shame. A place that speaks to your pain with kindness instead of anger. A place where you feel safe enough to breathe again. Rebuilding your inner home isn't about forcing yourself to be positive. It isn't about ignoring your darkness or pretending your scars don't ache. It's about picking up each broken piece inside you and deciding it still belongs. It's about learning to sit with your thoughts without letting them drown you. It's about understanding that your mind was never meant to be perfect. It was only meant to be yours. You begin this rebuilding when you choose to treat yourself with dignity, even when you feel worthless. When you speak to yourself with respect, even when shame is screaming at you. When you allow yourself to rest, not because you earned it, but because you are human. That is when your walls begin to rise again, not as barriers to keep the world out, but as shelter to keep your spirit protected. One day, you will wake up and feel a quiet peace within you, a stillness that does not depend on anyone's approval, a safety that no one can take away, because you built it yourself, because you learned that home is not a place you find in another person. It is something you construct, brick by brick, choice by choice within your own heart. And in that moment, you will realize that you are no longer surviving your life. You are living it because you finally have a place to come home to, and that place is you. There's a part of you that keeps waiting for motivation to return. You wait for the right mood, the right day, the right energy to come and carry you towards your goals. But days keep passing, and the heaviness in your chest grows. You start wondering if maybe you're just lazy, if maybe you're not meant to create anything meaningful after all. But here is the truth you've been avoiding. Discipline has nothing to do with feeling ready. Discipline is silent. It doesn't shout inspiration or burn with passion every morning. It is the quiet decision to move forward even when your body aches and your mind begs for comfort. It is the choice to do what matters to your future self, not what soothes your current feelings. Discipline feels painful at first. It feels empty, mechanical, almost cruel. You wake up and push yourself through the motions, wondering if any of it will ever become easier. But then, one day, you realize something has changed. The person who couldn't trust themselves to follow through is slowly becoming someone different. Someone who doesn't break their own promises. Someone who doesn't let fleeting emotions decide the worth of their day. Because each small act of discipline builds a foundation within you, you stop needing to feel motivated to move. You stop waiting for your mind to agree with your actions. You simply decide, and in that decision, you reclaim control over your life. You become someone you can rely on, someone who stands up, tired and uninspired, and still chooses to rise. That is the silent power of discipline. It doesn't come with fireworks or grand celebrations. No one sees your private victories when you wake up early, when you work in silence, when you choose to keep your word to yourself. But over time, those quiet choices become your strength. They become the reason you look in the mirror one morning and see a person you finally respect. And in that moment, you realize discipline was never punishment. It was the deepest form of self-love. Because you stopped abandoning yourself when things felt hard, you chose to build a life that honors your dreams even when your mind whispers doubt. That choice changes everything. There's a question that keeps echoing inside you, even when you try to ignore it. Who am I really supposed to become? You feel it late at night when the world is silent. You feel it when your heart aches at the thought of another day, spent living a life that feels too small for your spirit? You feel it when you look in the mirror and realize you're living as a shadow of who you were meant to be. But becoming who you were meant to be isn't about finally discovering some hidden version of yourself. It's about creating that person, piece by piece, with the choices you make every single day. It's about choosing to let go of the version of you that was built from fear, from expectations, from wounds that never healed. It's about asking yourself, what would my life look like if I stopped living from my pain and started living from my potential? You become that person when you choose courage over comfort, when you decide to speak your truth even if your voice trembles, when you take action on dreams that scare you because staying small scares you more, when you choose to sit with your pain instead of running from it, and in that silence, you find wisdom you never knew you had. Becoming who you were meant to be doesn't happen in one moment of transformation. It happens quietly in the private decisions no one sees. The morning you wake up and choose discipline over excuses. The night you end a relationship that's crushing your spirit. The day you forgive yourself for every time you betrayed your own soul. Slowly, through these choices, you realize you are building a life that feels honest. And then, one day, without even realizing it, you become the person you used to admire from afar, not perfect, not unbreakable, but real, grounded, alive with purpose and unshakable dignity, the person who walks into a room and doesn't need to prove anything because their existence is proof enough. That is who you were always meant to be, someone who stopped surviving in silence and decided to live loudly. Someone who finally came home to themselves. Someone who became exactly who their spirit was born to become.